I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Glacier-Two Medicine Alliance. I've been in this role since last January. We're really excited that you all came out on such a beautiful evening. We're just kicking off our Two Medicine Voices speaker series. Tonight we're going to have Termaine Edmo, which we're really excited to have here today. I just wanted to let you know a little bit more about the events that are going on this summer. So we are a grassroots conservation organization that's based here in East Glacier. We work to protect the lands, waters, and wildlife of the Badger-Two Medicine, which is 130,000 acres over there, but I think we all live here, so we all know where it is. In addition to policy and advocacy work, we host stewardship projects. And so May 1st, we will be opening our walks registration. That'll kick off the summer. And then the next event that we'll host here will be Tyrell Fenner. He'll be our second speaker. Also this summer, keep your eyes open for some bear educational events, which we hope to be at the end of May, as well as some noxious weed stewardship projects. So don't be shy to get your hands in the dirt. We'll be doing that a lot. So tonight we have Termaine Edmo, like I said, and she'll be speaking on the Blackfeet Nation's climate response. Termaine Edmo is the Climate Change Coordinator for the Blackfeet Nation. Awanaki is a Blackfeet and Shoshone-Bannock descendant. She was born in Missoula, Montana, raised in Browning by her grandmothers. Termaine was the first graduating class to come from our private immersion Cutswood School. She also received her AA in social work from Blackfeet Community College. Continuing her education at the University of Montana, Termaine landed an internship with the USDA that led her to the Blackfeet Environmental Offices, Blackfeet Climate Adaptation Planning Committee, that's one word, Blackfeet Environmental Offices, Blackfeet Climate Adaptation Planning Committee, and has seen the plan flourish from an idea to the boots on the ground. Termaine has had the honor of growing up immersed in a cultural background where she serves as a cultural youth mentor to the youth in Blackfeet language, ceremonies, and various traditional ecological knowledge. Termaine's educational goals are to finish earning her Bachelor's of Social Work at the University of Montana and continue on to her master's program at the School of Social Work, focusing on social justice, environmental impacts. So without further ado, let's welcome Termaine.
Well, thank you. I feel so formal today. I was rushing all over. So okini stuni daniku awanaki nixistanas the astanski ginstanas the bitawasta. Nista anok nanamska ki sixtikiaki ki ganexomitak. So welcome and thank you for having me today. And yeah, so I said I'm part of, my name is Awanaki, and I'm part of the Beaver Bundle, the Thunder Pipe, did I say Inaki Queenaman? The Buffalo Policing Pipe, and I serve as a brave dog, part of our Crazy Dog Society. And so I was raised by my aunt and my uncle, who I call my parents, after my grandmother's passed, and I was really immersed. I was born into both bundles. Before I was even a thought, my parents had changed their life around and had really decided to take the community by the horns, and with the help of other traditionalists like John and Carol, Conrad and Mary Ellen, Smokey and Darnell, they all collectively agreed to take this next step into helping our people and really guiding our people through our cultural identity. And what that looks like for me today is it's passing that traditional knowledge on. It's transcribing our ceremonies and our societies. It's teaching our youth who they growing them and guiding them into the person that they fully need to be. And that's not my role, that is up to their spirit. And it's just my role to help them kind of find which way they want to go. And so from our youngest society, from the Nipomokiks, the chickadees, we've had a lot of really monumental times on the Blackfeet Nation. The Nipo-Mageeks was again in the northern part of our sister band in the Alberta territory, and we had brought that back because again we've seen the significance it holds, and we see the power that our children bring, and so that society was brought over by Reggie and Rose Crochue with their grandchildren, who were the leaders, who are now the grandparents. And so these roles are transitioned. And so from the beginning of time, these societies teach us those roles in life, and they really guide us from childhood to early adulthood. And I always say I'm a lifelong student and a teacher. I would never really want to go to the next role. I feel my role here as a teacher is to help push everyone through to kind of know where they're headed. And we do this, I do this work in hopes of our leaders coming back and giving back that knowledge in whatever form or education that may be. And as long as they have that cultural tie, they have that identity and power of who they want to be. And so that's kind of where I started. So I started, we didn't have the Nipo-Mageeks when I was growing up, so we just had the Brave Dogs. And I was captured at age 14. I was really young, and I was captured with my brother, my second oldest brother, Sean Kip. And so we were partners, and then when he had married and moved on, he transitioned into a new partnership. And so that led me into a different role with my now partner, my boyfriend, Kyle Spotted Eagle. So we kind of, again, carry this role. And these societal roles, they're really meant to be that reciprocity, that giving back, and that continuation of that transfer of knowledge. And so we have, our traditionalists are getting older, and so it's really up to this generation to kind of propel that and continue to help our younger ones kind of transition. And so today, that's what I wanted to talk about, was the societal role and how we adapted to climate change then and how we're adapting now. So I'll kind of go back and go into these societal roles of placement. So we're really the Piikani people are really place-based people. And what that means is we're traditional people, and we're finding evidence of us. We used to say our traditional territory was from the tip of Alberta to the Yellowstone River, and now we're finding evidence of that going above and beyond. So we're just everywhere on the map. We know that we're the first people here, right? And we were put here, and our place, our traditional territory tells us that our mountains, our sacred sites, they tell us who and what. Our Napi stories, they tell us those guiding lessons of ecology and how to know your place and how to know your place in these different various ecosystems. So when you listen to those stories as a kid, you just always think it's kind of funny, and you kind of try and get the concept, but it's not until you really gather yourself into that next role of transitionhood from early adulthood to your adulthood. And that is really when you kind of step back and you're like, oh, that is why Napi said that. I get it now, I was like, that's it. So we can go back and we can go to the, just an example, like the Napi story of when Napi first created the buffalo. And, in the buffalo, we have a lot of traditional ties. They taught us how to be, they taught us society, they taught us grieving, they taught us anatomy and physiology, they taught us how to be us. They gave us their gifts of stewardship for the land. They taught us the grasses and how important the grasses are to us, and what those grasses mean, and what we all need to work, what a keystone species actually represents. And for us, that means the giving back to all. And so that's from all the way from the insects to the air. They all play a role of adaptation together. And so these roles of this kind of give and take with this, going back to this Napi story, is where that at first the buffalo, he was creating all life, all wildlife, all ecosystems, and he come to the buffalo and he he saw the buffalo attacking the humans, the human beings, the land beings, and he asked them what they were doing and how come they weren't killing the buffalo, and they said they didn't have anything to kill the buffalo with. And so that is when Napi gave him the hardwood. He gave him the arrow. He gave him the arrowhead and the bow and arrow, and he really gave him a way to adapt, right? And so that is when they transitioned from eating us to us eating them. And really, he took that away because, again, it was a give and take. It was a lesson to the Ini, and it was a lesson to us that we don't want to take more than what is needed. And that is when he taught us how to hunt. He taught us the tools we needed. He taught us how to hunt, and he taught us how to be and how to not take more than what is needed. And he taught us how to utilize every single part, from the manure to the eyeballs. And when I do the harvesting, we talk about just how he gave us those gifts and how the Ini gave himself to us. So in return, we would steward the land base and maintain those grasses and that ecology for his family, for the buffalo's generations, and for those generations to come. So it's really a give and take. It's that respect that we learn when we're harvesting of all animals, not only the buffalo, but of elk, of deer, of antelope. You know, we have caribou. We have a lot of these harvesting techniques that were really monumental. And what we talk about is those various ecosystems. And just from that one story of how he designed us, how he created us to not only care for the animal, but to give back to the land in return. So we talk about the kill sites and how how our land beings, how they have to have this need. They have to have a need for their family, for their sick ones, for their loved ones, for anyone in need. And so that's when we talk about the vow. And so with the vow, it's really a promise between the human being and the sun. And with that, we make a promise. And that promise is with the buffalo in that vow setting. And so that, sorry, I'm trying to gather myself. And so that respect that we have within that vow, it's fulfilled by giving back. And so again, these sites, before this was ever East Glacier, before this was ever Browning, before we were even here, these sites were gifted to our individuals. They were picked. These kill sites were thought of before, the land. It was the land speaking to us, and that we needed to help the land and heal the land. And so these kill sites were really pivotal in how they did their harvesting. Because it takes a lot. It takes a whole day. It takes a whole community. It takes everyone, the bringing together. These harvests have the bringing together. Back then they talk about the various roles. You have to have your buffalo runners, your ridge runners, your drive line. And so these were all various roles. And then you talk about even having the sneak up, where they acted like the buffalo. So these were all various roles that we had to play to have one hunt, and how important it was, and how they had to have that I don't like to say vision, how they had to have that vow to even be there, how they had to have the endurance, the physical ability to actually be able to carry out this one role, this one time. Because when we pray for everything to go right. We pray for long life, happiness, and good well-being, so everything goes right, everything falls in place. And that is exactly what we did with the while we had those positions, we vowed those. And so adapting it to today, fast forwarding it, adapting it to today, and what that looks like is that looks like giving back. That looks like teaching those various roles of the harvest and what those mean to our people. And so now you have at E&E days, we have our Cutswood kids, we have our public school kids reenacting those old buffalo harvests. And they have you can just see the joy and feel that happiness in them, you know. And I can only imagine what our elders are thinking when they're seeing this, you know. It's really, I once had an elder tell me when they first start bringing back the buffalo that they had elders crying because they waited so long to have that, to see that. And that's exactly what we're doing now. These buffalo they're bringing back our people. They're bringing back our Confederacy. They're bringing back our next leaders. They're bringing back these roles for our children, and they're bringing back good medicine. And so with sorry, I'm jumping all back over. So again, with the kill site and how we're adapting that today is we're using that as a soil amendment. We're using it as a soil amendment. So what we're doing is we're having my partner, Latrice Tatsy, our soil ecologist, so she comes and she takes the soil sample before we do the harvest. And then she does one after. And we're going to read those results this year. And again, we're going to we're going to show the public how that traditional knowledge is still being utilized and how we're going to relate that in our agriculture and the agriculture sector of the Blackfeet Climate Adaptation Plan, and how we're going to use those soil amendments to help heal our producers' land. So we're bringing these traditional practices and we're piloting them. So we're testing them first on us and the tribe, and then we're proving how beneficial it is. And so again, we talk about this back history of that kill site, of those roles, and it all coming together. And so I can't wait to see what those results show, and I can't wait to see what this year's harvest will bring. And again, there's so much more that these buffalo are bringing back. We talk about these invasive weeds and how they're choking out our traditional plants, how our grasses are being decimated. Our culturalists are seeing the cultural catastrophe effects that the overgrazing, that the drought, that the underhelped family has. You know, it's just the ranching it's just their family. They don't have the means to hire helping hands. It's just really just the family all coming together. And that's sometimes as young as 6 years old, you know, out there just helping. And so again, we're adapting all that traditional knowledge back into Western society. And this year, we'll be implementing the agriculture sector and the culture sector. And with that culture sector, we're going to be having our first controlled burn. And that's going to happen here at the east side of the bison pasture. And so that's their summer grazing pasture. So again, we're piloting these sites to prove just how beneficial our traditional practices are. So we're using that traditional burning technique to eradicate an invasive yellow hawkweed that we don't know if it's hindering their digestive system. I've seen a lot of things in the intestines and their guts indicating that they're having a hard time. They've had losses with their buffalo, and again, so we want to bring back these traditional practices to heal our buffalo, because our buffalo is what's bringing us together. Our buffalo is what's healing our people. We've been so far away from our first foods that we're finally coming full circle, and we actually have our traditional herd that we're managing, and then I like to say the commercial herd, because you see the good old E&E initiative bison jerky. I don't know if anybody got to try that, but so we're really trying to market our buffalo and what that looks like for us and what that could look like for producers. And so again, we all of these natural resource departments kind of piggyback off of each other to kind of come together. And so, and with that, what that looks like is a meat processing facility. And we'll be able to, from all these years of teaching our traditional techniques and having Christina Fleming come down and do the butchering process, we're building that knowledge base, and we're giving back. So when we finally do have a meat processing facility, we'll have our people ready to go. We'll have a traditional space for them, and we'll have the I don't know, what do they call it? Feedlot. I don't even know what they call it. But so we're gonna have that tailored in, and that's gonna be built around what we're doing already, and how that's again giving back, and how we can teach these first foods like the bone marrow, like the heart and the kidney, and even the testicles, and how those first protein foods are so beneficial for us. We're bringing back that knowledge of guiding, of mapping our traditional routes, right? We talk about the medicine wheel, and again, there was 8 different types of medicine wheels, and so we have from the solar to the lunar to a society to buffalo to prayer offering. We have all these various types of medicine wheels that we have scattered throughout Montana, and they all tell a story. And right now, again, this year's E&E Days is focusing on bringing that back, bringing that knowledge back. And so what that's going to look like is we're going to be constructing with the youth, with our public schools, and giving them this knowledge, transferring that knowledge base to them so they have that. And having an offering and a prayer site up at Chief Mountain dedicated just to this year's E&E Days. And so it's going to look really, really different, but we're really coming together. Again, we're really coming together in that good way. And these students will know, they'll be able to comprehend those various types of medicine wheels and what they mean to our people, and how they can go from our solar, sorry, I missed my blink. How they can go from telling us the summer solstice, the winter solstice, and how they're aligning, and how far they're off. So it's now that we need to teach our young ones. It's now that we need to bring back these medicine wheels and bring back that knowledge. It's our society. It's in us. It's in our spirit to give back that knowledge and really teach our children how to steward this land from just sitting and listening, from just being a part and just being present and having an open mind. That's all we can ask of our children at this age. They're so caught up in technology and everything that they don't even go outside and play anymore. They can't even identify our 5 different types of trees, our 4 different types of grasses that are kind of utilized. And they can't tell us this, and that scares me. That scares me, my children included. It scares me. So we really have to take them by the hand. We need to take them by the hand, because now is the time. Our traditionalists are getting older, and they need help. They need help gathering. I think I did the math one time, and I think it was like, I want to say 58 braids. 58 braids of sweetgrass. 58 braids of sweetgrass to get you through one season. One season. And that's what they need. And that's praying twice a day, morning and night. That's praying. Some of them have 2 bundles. Some of them have 3. And that's they have to smudge each one, and each one is a different sacrament, or it could be the faith, like our tobacco, sweetgrass, sweet pine, and sage, right? And so we talk about those sacraments and how important they are, how they are the start to our day, how they're the end to our day, and how they carry those prayers up. And again, we talk about what these transitions mean and these roles. And those roles mean that we need to, again, educate our children. We need to get them out there. We need to get them picking sweetgrass. We need to stop seeing this plant shift be so significant that we're not even having any more sweetgrass, that we're not even having any more rose hips, that we're not even having any more gooseberries, Savis berries, choke cherries. You know, it was really scary this year when my parents told me that they needed to go to up north to a Savis berry orchard so that we wouldn't be dry, meaning that they would have enough to open and close their bundle, that they would have that enough to supply their community or any invited guest who comes. And that scared me. That made me think, you know, that was like, wow, like this is real, you know. I always feel like I'm really not in that kind of realm, you know, for them to talk to me like that. But it was them speaking to me. It was them telling me, you're young, you're agile, do something. And so I did. I seen the need. I cried and I begged and I was like, what are we not doing? Why are we seeing these Savis berries just dry up and our traditionalists fear? You know, why are they fearing? They shouldn't have to fear. And so this year we had dedicated this year's Earth Day to Sherry Bremner, and we became the first tree city USA, meaning we just have a status saying that we're going to be green and we're going to plant as many trees as possible. That was really awesome. I was like, you know what, we got to take it a step further. And so Arbor Day Foundation had asked me to apply for Tree Cities of the World because they know the beneficial meaning that these trees have to us. And we hosted Jordan was there and Sarah was there, and we hosted the first Arbor Day Foundation Day, I don't even know what it's called, Arbor Day. And so last year, and we planted 200 willows, 200 cottons over on the Willow Creek Native American campgrounds. And so they were like, we want to know, like, what do the Piikani use this for? You know, what do the Piikani use this for? And so they were just so intrigued and wanting to learn more. And so we had provided that cultural workshop and space for our manpower participants. And I got to talk to, I think, like 5 of them. Like 5 of them come out and they planted with us in the rain and a little bit of snow. And so this year, fast forward, and I applied and we became Tree City of the World. And that came with $100,000 and a position dedicated just to tree projects. And I like to call the arborists my tree siblings because they heard me. They understood my vision. They knew the significance I needed to provide so my traditionalists would not fear. And so we're starting our own orchards. We're starting our own Savisberry orchards, our own choke cherry orchards, and what that means to us and bringing those first foods back. We're in the process of working with Fast Blackfeet, that we're going to be having our own Piikani trees from our traditional trees here. And those seeds are going to be planted here, and they're going to be taken care of in the nursery and brought back to us so we can plant them here. And so we'll have plenty, because we're plentiful people. We always had enough because we knew how to steward that land base and not take more than we needed. And so we had 500 Savisberry trees that just went like that. Like everybody was just like, wow, you know, and they were just like, I want a Savis, I want a cottonwood, I want a choke cherry. And I'm just like, Oprah, like, you get a tree, you know? And I was just like giving out trees, running over crates to my traditionalists. And I was just like, we need this, you need this. And so it was awesome last Friday. And it was just a really great event dedicated to Sherry Bremner, the one who really started this tree planting. She started it with Tree Campus USA. So we're the first tribal community to be Tree Campus USA. And she started that vision in 2013, I believe. And all the way until she had passed. And then that is when I took it and went from, I seen Sherry's vision bigger, and so we need to merge it, and that's when we became Tree City of the World. And what that's going to look like is helping our guardianship program that I'm partnered with John and Dylan on, that, we're going to be planting those trees up in our traditional area, up in the Chief Mountain area, and really bringing back those good medicines, those good vibes, and providing habitat and providing food source. And again, bringing back those traditional teachings are, that's down the line, but that's long term. But short term, our second phase right now is focused. Second phase of Tree City is focused towards the Heart Butte community. And we're going to be planting white bark pine, another keystone species that we need to bring back, that those cones and how long that cone takes to feed. It feeds over 5,000 species, 500, sorry, just kidding, 5,000. 500 species. Big game species, not only our grizzlies, elk, everything. They need this cone, and so we see the conflict from the bears. I know how many people here from East Glacier, but you see that conflict with the bears. They're hungry. There's nothing there. They have no food up there. We need to give that back, not only for us and our traditionalists, but for our brothers, our two-legged, our four-legged, our winged, and our fin, because they need these trees as well for them and theirs. And without them, our gifts, they would not have given us their gifts, and our gifts would not help heal our people. And so again, it's all a big circle of life that we all give back to, right? And that is all from these keystone species, because everything, the Pekani view everything as a spirit, and everything is living, everything is a spirit, and everything has a purpose and a meaning. And it's really up to us to honor that purpose and that meaning, because when we do that, that is when we're gifted. That is when we're bringing back those healers. That's when we're bringing back those medicines. And we're really, again, these trees are really going to benefit our people, our wildlife, our game, everything, all the way down to the water. And we talk about stream bank restoration and how we're utilizing our trees in that way. And with our another adaptation tool that we use is beaver mimicry. And the beaver mimicry was the first implementation project out of the Blackfeet Climate Adaptation Plan. And that was in 2018. We implemented that on a pilot site at the Blackfeet Community College. And we really dove into it not knowing, and I didn't know. And I just went out there, got my little waders on, and jumped in and just, start pounding the lodgepole pine and weaving the willow and building up the rock wall, and really seeing those effects in days, seeing that habitat come back, seeing it flourish, and seeing it help that producer who was needed. Or another private owner had come to us, and they were having residential flooding. So we had put together, we constructed with our Native Science Fellows and our Montana Conservation Corps peeps, Joe Seeps peeps. And so we merged them together, and we had conducted beaver deceivers, our, what are they called? Low flow devices. Losing it. But and that really, they could, with the deceiver, it was just a 2x4 cage with a, sorry guys. Yes, CBC pipe that they put through, and it would really deceive the beaver. They couldn't tell, and so they couldn't dam it up. They couldn't tell where the flow was coming, so they couldn't dam it up, and so that had allowed enough water storage, and it allowed the natural beaver habitat, and so really it was a low flow device that we saw in like days, literally in days. And of course they need a lot of maintenance like beavers. And I think that is kind of where we got some pushback, is we didn't have the feasibility at the time to do the maintenance. And so I think that's kind of where we got some pushback. But we did, with that pushback, it made us think twice. And so that is when we devised the Beaver Mimicry Guidebook, and really gave a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step process on how to build BDAs, how to maintain BDAs, and how, again, to utilize the beaver deceivers. And so this guidebook is really what we're trying to promote now to our agricultures. We're trying to promote these natural water storage so our agriculturalists can adapt, so their land base can be, so they can combat drought a little bit, and so they can see habitat come back. You know, this past year, we've seen thermal fish kill levels happen with our warming climate. We saw fish dying before our eyes. We saw no bugs. Our macroinvertebrates there was nothing. It was scary. And again, it was like climate catastrophe. It's like, where you gotta scream it from the rooftops. And it's really like, okay, what do we do? How do we fight back? And again, we found that these beaver mimicry dams are really pivotal in combating climate change and bringing back habitat, and again, even cooling down those waters. And so, again, merging that with our trees, we have heat stress reduction and we have bank stabilization. So again, our trees and our beaver mimicry and our what's another one? Snow fencing. And snow fencing was the second goal to come out of the water sector that we implemented. And so we did kind of trial designs at the Browning High School. And so we had 3 different designs. We had our traditional willow fence, we had our 2x4, and then we had the plastic and the plastic netting that you see on that the roads do. And so again, our students, the Browning Public High students, had seen what these changes, they tracked them. And it was so cool because it was really their project, and we really seen them light up. But I'm not gonna get too much into that because that's gonna be another presentation for you. But it was, again, we tested the designs, we found that the traditional fence worked, and so we took that again to our agriculturalists and told them, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how it's working. What do you want to do? And so they kind of tailored this little ag plan that, hey, I just want 500 trees. I just need a shady grove right here. Hey, I just want to do some beaver mimicry in this stream right here, just to help offset some of my irrigation. So really, they were really tailoring these plans from these pilot projects that we were basically putting out all over town. And so our adaptation plan is really, it's coming together, and it was a long time running. I mean, it's already 6 years old, and so we need an update. I mean, so these things that I'm talking about today, they're not even in there. We have a website that has not been updated since 2019. So there's a lot to do, a lot of work, and I'm just glad that we have we have the money and the resources now to bring a second Termaine in. So I'm gonna have an assistant, and I'm gonna have my climate change warriors, where I started from. I started as a climate change warrior, researching the climate change impacts to water quality, and that is how I started my journey. And again, now it's coming full circle, and now I get to manage these interns, and they get to open their eyes and to see them what they're most passionate about, And so again, those internships, the Climate Warriors, will be coming out in middle of May. So it's really competitive. There's only 5 internships available, and I've been kind of merging my interns with PLHI. I'm also Piikani Lodge Health Institute. Today's my first day. And so my title there is Field Monitor and Cultural Youth Mentor. And so again, we'll be monitoring the controlled burn and how we're eradicating the invasive yellow hawkweed. And there's also henbane that has been found there. And again, knapweeds everywhere. And so we're really going to be monitoring those invasives and how we're going to get rid of them with these traditional practices. And along with that, they'll be also looking at our kill sites and monitoring our soil samples and at our producers, with our producers. And so these interns are really going to be getting a full spectrum of all the initiatives that have already taken place. And so that means more little working beavers for the people. And these, we're really hoping to get out of this year is kind of a mentor-mentee process. And so with that, we're hoping that this year's interns can really mentor the whole entire agricultural based peeps, because we're 1.5 million acres. Like, we have a lot of land to digest. And with that, we're 85% agriculture based, with over 55,000 acres of wetlands. So we have some tough shoes to fill. It's going to take all of that knowledge and all of these practices just to spit it and talk beaver mimicry, snow fencing, regenerative grazing. Oh, I didn't talk about that one because I'm kind of new to that era, but it's coming. And so those are the kind of techniques we're utilizing. And again, my goal is to implement all of these sectors out of the Blackfeet Climate Adaptation Plan, and really merging that Western science with that traditional knowledge, and keeping that traditional knowledge, our Piikani values, and our Piikani way of life at the forefront of our planning and our implementation process. And again, so our interns are really going to be getting the full circle. And so I'm excited, and I think that's all I have. Any questions?
What research did you guys find in terms of weed extermination with fire and the seed beds? Is there a possibility that the hawkweed could grow back?
Yeah, no. I couldn't get forestry to talk to me until I did that. So yeah, that's kind of this. We can't really we got to call it controlled burn. So we can't really call it traditional burn yet, but with the controlled burn, so with that, we're going to burn and then come in with the pesticides, because it's really, and so that's kind of how we're going to take that. But once we prove that and we don't need to eradicate any invasives, we'll be utilizing the traditional burn for the entire pasture. So right now I'm only working with 3 acres.
How many acres?
3 acres, yeah. So I've only found, me and our botanist, Tara Luna, have only identified just under a half an acre in the east side, right off the road, and you could see, eyes view, you could see it from the road. And so we had plotted every seed we've seen. And what's scary about the yellow meadow hawkweed is that it spreads not only through seed, but through root. And so it's coming at us both ways. And what's really scary is how close it is to our prairie pothole, and how close it is, and how you could see it's just choking out our natives. I've seen yarrow, and like I said, rose hips, and our bullberries just totally choked. And it's just, again, we need to bring back these traditional techniques so we can heal our land, so the animal can heal us.
I have a follow-up question on fire. Have you seen or do you know people who have witnessed fire actually bringing back more traditional plants after it's gone through, like berries?
Yep.
And different
Yes. So the Karuk tribe, that is exactly what their focus is to bring back those traditional roots. Yeah. Plants. Any other?
Do we have a picture of the, whatever it's called?
Yellow hawkweed. Yeah, if anyone wants to pick up a book, we've got a full book of all of our noxious weeds.
And cows, like one thing I didn't mention with our buffalo are really intelligent, and they can actually smell the poison. So again, cows can't, so it's really bad for them. And if it gets into their livestock, it's detrimental. So we need to just spread this education, spread this knowledge, and go look for your yellow hawkweed in June. Any other question?
Just was wondering where your interns, do they come from the BCC or?
All over. So I take ninth grade odd up to college level. Yep.
But it's here.
Yes. Yep. Based in Browning. Yes.
So where did you do could a person go and see the beaver?
Dam analogs. BDAs, beaver mimicry. Yeah, yep. And so we have our beaver deceiver on the 464 highway. So you know right where the tribal office is, right under there in Willow Creek is where the beaver deceiver's at. And so our beaver mimicry is actually on, if you were to take the old dump road, and our pilot site is right off of there. You probably have to go in maybe a mile and a half, maybe. And it's from the road. And so you just have to drive over and walk down, and you could see the 8 beaver dam analogs that they had installed. And these were fairly new. So Alicia and her native science fellows had redone these BDAs. And so again, like I said, this was our first implementation. So it was a while ago. So that's why we gave out the beaver mimicry guidebook to get our own beavers going. Yeah.
Awesome. Are there any other questions?
Not so much a question, but just a plug for Termaine. She does a great job with the buffalo harvest, and a plug also for Fast Blackfeet, which some of you are more knowledgeable. You know, they always need volunteers, and for the buffalo harvest, you know, if you want to see what Termaine does and the Fast Blackfeet, they're always looking for volunteers, and come to the next buffalo harvest to see what she's doing.
May 12th.
Be there.
Yeah.
Getting to weeds, where Urban has the buffalo in the summer, I'm sure there's a lot of knapweed out there.
Oh, yeah.
Are they,
What?
or knapweed,
We're making honey now out of
what are
that.
those,
I'm just kidding.
where I'm at, buffalo are eating the knapweed. And they're not eating it because of necessity. They're chewing it down. We went out to spray a couple years ago. Couldn't find any knapweed except chewed off stem.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So, over time, that'll,
And again, that's why Dylan and John and Irvin are really working hard and diligently to get our buffalo into a bigger pasture, right? Because that is why they're overgrazing, is they don't have enough room. They can't roam like every other wild game can. We can't even call them wild game, they're domesticated. And so that is why they're gonna eat what's sweet.
yeah, it's not, they're eating it not out of necessity, like I said.
Do you
Must be
have,
something
sorry,
there.
Roy.
Huh?
Go ahead. I was gonna say, do you have like a goal of how many you would ultimately have for buffalo to be able to sustain here, or do you know what that number is, or?
I'll get back to you on that one. But I know they are, they have the same grazing unit as the horse. So they're measured. Their grazing units by the horse. So, although I don't think that is accurate because our buffalo, they need minimal resources, right? They can go without shade, without water, and they can obviously food. So we know that they're very resilient.
Question. Yeah, I don't know exactly how many nations have a climate change adaptation plan. It seems like not that many, and especially in Montana, like I'm not aware of like a Montana climate change adaptation strategy. And I'm wondering, like, does anyone in Helena like ask you guys like, whoa, like, how are you doing this? Like,
So
what's that relationship like?
when Governor Bullock was here, we actually, and that was in 2018, when we actually sat on his Climate Change Solutions Council, and he had reached out to the Blackfeet Nation because at that time we were the only ones implementing. The Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribe had their plan for 5 years prior to that, and again, like I said, we were the first ones to implement. They had their plan, their ideals, and they even have an updated plan, but they're just now getting into the implementation process. And so that's kind of why they look to us to kind of sit in on and weigh in on some of those strategies and how we can devise a plan. And so that all went south when he got beat out. So we kind of got pushed aside, and it's like, okay, we're just doing this fight as the Blackfeet Nation, you know, we're just going to merge all the tribes together. And so that really worked well, you know, and that was, we kind of just all worked in our own little domain and just spreading this knowledge like we can. And so there's the Confederated Salish Kootenai Tribes, there's us, and then there's the now Fort Peck. So their plan will be published. And again, they're doing almost the same things, but their first implementation is forestry. And so again, they're reseeding some of their sacred sites. And they are using, again, traditional harvesting to bring back to the youth so they're able to sustain themselves.
With your meat processing plant, is it only gonna be tribal? Or are you gonna process stuff?
No, it's for the whole community. Yeah.
Will you have to, are they gonna have a, on the ranch slaughtering service?
A mobile unit?
Yeah.
You betcha. That's coming down the pipeline, and actually that's already in works with Blackfeet Community College. So this fall, I say we, it's me and my personalities, we'll be out there showing them how to do the processing. And so they're actually going to buy a mobile processing unit so we can get it done anywhere. All I need is water.
Have you heard of Wild Idea? They have a mobile processing plant. They're in Rapid City,
Oh, okay.
and I know some of the tribal people do know about them because some of them met with them. And they can do 40 at a time.
Wow.
And they've got a big truck. They have a state inspector with them because you don't need a federal inspector for buffalo. But you need a state inspector, so they come out. And I've been around them a lot when they just go out and they shoot them right out the pickup window, right out in a bunch of, when you work them in the fall, you put a different color ear tag in, so you know which one to shoot. And so they go out and shoot that one. It just hits the ground. The buffalo do absolutely nothing. There'll be 200-300 or more, 400 or 500 out there. They do nothing. Every now and then they'll come up and sniff the carcass, and then they get lifted up by a bale bed hauled into the facility that's on it's a big van, semi-van. And it has a cooler, it has potable water, so it can pass the inspection. They skin them, gut them, split them, and hang them in the cooler. And then they're hauled back to Rapid City to be processed.
Wow.
And they do a little over 1,000 a year. But, so they came out to Shoto for those 2 ranches there
Oh, okay.
several times, but that's as far as they'll come in there. It's just getting too far. There's too many buffalo in South and North Dakota to make that long trip in Rapid City.
And so
Look
what,
that up if you get a chance.
I will. And so the part, I did
What a
this.
wild idea.
So I started the traditional harvesting when I was at the Blackfeet Community College as a student. And again, it was a student-led initiative. And the reason why I did that is because we had just started getting our people to go practice their sovereign treaty rights down in Yellowstone. And a lot of them, again, were just being wasteful. And they didn't know, or it was the way they were taught. And it was really just a hunt at that point. And so that is why I made the initiative to bring back the traditional harvesting, so they can know how to clean and utilize every single part, and how we can heal the land with those harvests.
That they were the biggest waste I saw. There was not really a market for hides for a long time. You know, when you're doing 1,000 a year. So they were actually throwing most of the hides away. But then the guy that owns Patagonia didn't like seeing that. So he came in and he wants 1,000 buffalo hides a year. And what he does with them, besides lose money, he pays them. They're hauled to Scottsbluff, Nebraska. They're fleshed. They're sent to a tannery in Chicago. Then the tanned hides are sent to Portugal, and they make 1,000 pair of boots a year, 500 men and 500 women's. And if you look in the Patagonia catalog, you'll see that. So he found a market for these
That is awesome.
hides that there was no market. Now it's starting to catch on. So, I mean, I watched hundreds of hides being buried.
Oh, wow. And so, yeah, with this now, it's really starting to trend within the community, and we have our public schools, our students hand tanning their own hides and making drums, making moccasins, making rattles, and it's really neat to see.
Roy, you would like it if you have time on May 12th, you can see Termaine.
The Heartbeat School actually working on a hide right now. Actually, they asked me to do a harvest on the 2nd or the 4th, but I can let you know by Tyrell's presentation what day for sure. But Heartbeat School will be doing one, and I know that it's open to the public.
Yeah, but May 12th is open to the public, and then it'll be June 3rd.
Yep.
Yeah, will be eating days. And Termaine does all of those skinnings, and then all of the intestines are given out to elders and everything. It's pretty amazing.
And the food is then taken back to our processing unit up in CNC processing, and they do the processing, and then they give back the meat to our community, and our community disperses it where they're serving over 500 people a month. I want to say a week even. They're getting a lot of produce and a lot of food out.
So that tanning those hides, that's pretty labor intense.
Oh, you're gonna need a whole classroom for that.
You got 1,000 hides staring in the eye. You better have a lot of folks.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work just for one.
You ever ran into a guy named Billy Maxwell?
No.
John may know of him. He's a interesting guy. He brain tans, and he gives a lot of, he's about his backward. I mean, he really knows his stuff. And I know he's been to that Blackfeet Reservation before, but it might have been a while ago. He's a true master at it. I mean, he has a PhD in something from North Carolina, but his whole life is sleeping in his Toyota Tercel, getting buffalo hides, and he's got piles of him in brain tanning.
That's awesome.
And his leather's unbelievable.
I bet. I was going to say, so we teach about that, about how, the various parts you need to mix to have that consistency of what you're trying to, either clothing or a lodge or what you're trying to make, and how we mix the various organs to get that.
Are there any other questions? Awesome. Well, let's give Termaine a hand.
Thank you.
You're welcome to peruse our merchandise table. But thank you all so much for spending an evening with us. I did want to say that we do have these free noxious weed books that you can take for you or anyone in the community. We literally have boxes of them. So get to know your weeds, and so we can fight those together this summer. And one more plug I'd love to share with you all is, I know Termaine's got these interns that she's looking for this summer. We also are hosting a high school outdoor trip. It'll be June 20th, 21st, and 22nd for all the high school students on the reservation. So if you know of a high school student that's interested in getting out in the Badger, learning career skills, and satisfying their volunteer hours, please come talk to me or a couple of the high school teachers. So thank you guys so much for coming tonight, and yeah, we'll see you out there.
I also have a card if you want a card.